Okay, I have a request from a particular student to do a couple of the problems on integers with order of operations. So I've pulled out number 23, that's what we're going to start with, and I'm going to do the odds all the way through. So number 23 says negative 15 minus 50 divided by 10 times negative 3 squared plus 20. So order of operations says we need to do parentheses first. However, in this example, what's in parentheses right here is negative 3. So that's already reduced all the way. The reason why it's in parentheses is because we have a time symbol right there. So it's 10 times negative 3. That's to let you know that the negative is in fact a negative and not a minus sign. So this whole thing says 10 times negative 3 squared. So the next thing we need to look at is our exponents, since parentheses is already solved. And we have one set of exponents. We have negative 3 squared. And what does that mean? That means negative 3 times negative 3. And negative 3 times negative 3, a negative times a negative equals a positive 9. So that's this guy. So let me draw out the rest of the problem. So we have a 9 here, we have a 10. I know I'm putting this in backwards. I should have done it the other way. But I'm just rewriting the rest of the problem down here. So now all I've done is simplify this guy right here into 9. Right here into 9. The rest of the problem I'm just rewriting here. Okay. So now I'm at negative 15 minus 50 divided by 10 times 9 plus 2. So now we're done with parentheses, we're done with exponents, and now we're into the multiplication and division portion. And multiplication division says left to right, not multiply and then divide. No, it's left to right, always. So, what do I have first? I have division and then my multiplication. So, negative 15 minus, and now I have a 50 divided by 10. That's what I'm going to do first. 50 divided by 10, which is 5, times 9 plus 2. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. So negative 15 minus, and then I have to do 5 times 9. Well, that's 45 plus 2. Sorry for the whistle. Okay, so now we're at negative 15 minus 45 plus 2, right? Oops. Didn't mean to make a 4 over there. Messed up the screen. Okay. Alright, so I moved the screen up so that we see our work. So negative 15 minus 45 plus 2 is where we're at. PEMDAS says we now need to do our adding and subtracting, but again, it's always, it's always left to right. So we just go left to right, since all we have left is a minus and a plus. So negative 15 minus 45. We're going to do that part first. And remember what I said in class? The easiest way to do this is change that subtraction to addition. So make it addition, and then change my positive 45, so that's a positive, to a negative 45. So I had a subtraction. I had negative 15 minus a positive 45, and I changed it to negative 15 plus a negative 45. Now I have all pluses, which is kind of nice. So now I'm going to do, in the whole 15, I'm going to add another debt of 45. That gives us a debt of 60. And if I'm in the whole 60, somebody gives me $2. My final amount is negative 58. And again, this is for question number 23. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now remember, guys, if I went too fast, rewind, pause, rewind, fast forward, whatever you need to do for each one of my problems. Okay, number 25. Number 25 says negative 45 divided by 5 plus 1. We take the whole answer of that and divide it by the total of, or the difference of, 2 and negative 2. So let's break this down. We can, let's start with the numerator first, okay? So we're going to do what's in the numerator first. Negative 45 divided by 5 plus 1. Now notice that number 25, number 24 looks just like this. So my example here should help you solve number 24 as well. So for the top part, and I'll draw the line, for the top part we have a parentheses, and inside parentheses we have to follow PEMDAS, which we'll have to do the division first and then the addition, right? So 45 divided by 5 is a 9, and when you divide a negative by a positive, you get a negative number, right? And that's plus 1. Now I know I'm not done with the numerator, but let's move down to the denominator for a minute. And we've got a 2 minus a negative 2. So remember, when you subtract, when we subtract a negative, we can rewrite this as adding a positive 2 plus a positive 2, which gives us 4. Okay, now I'm going to shrink this a little. No, I'm not. Try that again. Let me erase my little marks. Okay. I'm going to move this up. Okay. Now, so here's where we're at. Let's first work on the top part. Negative 9 plus 1. Well, if I'm in the hole $9 and I add 1, then I'm at negative 8. And then this guy is over 4. So far, so good. So, negative 8. And remember, this line means divided by. Negative 8 divided by 4. Well, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then a negative divided by a positive gives us negative. So the answer to number 25 is negative 2. Okay, now let's move on to number 27. And notice, number 26 is just like 27. It's got a plus and a minus on the numerator and a plus on the denominator. They are identical, so the steps should be the same. So, number 27. Let's read it out loud first of all. We have The answer to 2 squared plus 6 times negative 3. Again, that's 2 squared plus 6 times negative 3. Do you see that? Because a number next to a parenthesis always means times. And then we're going to take that whole answer and we're going to divide it by the sum of negative 2 and negative 5. Okay, so here we go. Let's do the top part first. 2 squared plus 6 times negative 3. So, PEMDAS says we got to do parentheses first. Well, this whole thing is in parentheses, so let's solve what's inside here. Well, we have an exponent, right? 2 squared. So, let's solve that first. 4 plus 6 times negative 3. Okay? So there's our exponent part. Now, let's move down below. And I have the sum of negative 2 and negative 5. Well, the sum of negative 2 and negative 5. If I'm in debt $2 and then I go into debt another $5, where am I at? Negative 7. Okay. So, here we go. This being silly, let's try that again. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to solve him a little bit more down here. So we have 4 plus 6 times negative 3. And PEMDAS says our next step is multiplication and division from left to right. Well, we got to do the multiplication before we do the addition. So it becomes 4 plus a negative 18. So far so good, I hope. Let me rewrite the bottom. Now we got to do our addition and subtraction, left to right. All we have is addition, 4 plus a negative 18. Think of it as I have $4, and I'm going to add a debt of $18. So where am I? I am now in debt $14. Okay, so far so good. Okay, let me move this up. Now, oops, let's solve this guy. Negative 14 divided by negative 7. Let me rewrite it here. Negative 14 divided by negative 7 equals a positive 2, right? A negative divided by a negative is always positive. Positive 2. And that was for number 27. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do number 28 because it does look quite different than 27 in the sense that it's got nothing but subtraction on here. Subtraction of integers divided by another subtraction of 2 integers. So, because there's so much subtraction in here, and subtraction is the hardest for most people, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Okay, so step 1 is to do our numerator. So we're going to find the difference of negative 10, a positive 4, times a negative 1. So again, this says negative 10 minus a positive 4 times a negative 1. I don't know if I said that right at the very beginning, but it is negative 10 minus positive 4 times negative 1 for the top. And then underneath we have the difference of 13 and 19. 13 minus 19. Okay, so let's do the top first. Sorry my 10 looks so goofy. Let's see if I can erase it. Yeah, I can. Okay, negative 10 minus 4 times 1. PEMDAS says, we do parentheses first. Well, this whole thing is in parentheses, right? So then the next thing to do is look for exponents. Do we have any? No. So then our next step is to do any multiplication and division. Do we have any? Yes. Right here. So that's what I'm going to do first. Negative 10 minus positive 4 times negative 1 is going to give me what? Positive 4 times negative 1 is going to give me a negative 4. Right? Now let's go down to this bottom guy. 13 minus 19. Some of you can look at that and say, oh, that's negative 3. But I'm going to do a quick switcheroo, making it 13 plus a negative 19 so you can see it a little bit better. So I have 13. I add $19 of debt. And that gives me a negative 3. Okay, so far so good, I hope. Okay, let's move this down slightly. Okay, so now I need to solve this top guy. And I'm going to rewrite it right here, just for the heck of it. Negative 10 minus a negative 4 all over negative 3, because we already solved the bottom. Okay, so we have a subtracting a negative. This is always the toughest to get, but remember, change the sign, change the symbol, change the sign. So let's make it a negative 10 plus a positive 4. Why? Because I am subtracting a debt. When I get rid of a debt, I'm actually adding, right? So subtracting a negative is the exact same thing as adding a positive. So negative 10 plus 4. Let's do that. Negative 10 plus 4. Well, if I'm in debt $10, somebody gives me $4. Where am I at? I'm now at negative 6 divided by negative 3. Okay. So, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and a negative divided by a negative is what? It's positive. So my answer is a positive 2. So again, that one was number 28. Okay, number 29. Now, remember last week I mentioned that there's a problem here that one of my brackets looks funky or shouldn't be that way, and that is this guy right here. This really should be written as 16 divided by one of these guys, and I don't remember what they're called. Negative 4 times bracket 8 divided by negative 2 and bracket, and then, oops, did it again. By that guy. Okay. So what does this say, this big guy? This big guy just, it's parentheses inside a parentheses. Number 29, 30, and 31 are actually just like 26, 27, and 28. I just wrote them straight out left to right. Remember, this division symbol and then this whole thing means that you got to take negative 16 and you got to divide it by the answer to this guy. So I could rewrite this as negative 16 divided by negative 4 times, is that right? Negative 4 times, yes, 8 divided by negative 2. Just like that. And in that case, I can get rid of these goofy brackets, because when you have the division line that goes all the way across, that is kind of your all-encompassing. It means that you got to take this 16 and divide it by the total answer of everything underneath the divided by symbol, the fraction line. Make sense? Okay. So let's solve this guy. And I'll just solve it the way it was originally written. So I will erase this, and we'll just solve it the way it was originally written. Okay? So let's think about it. PEMDAS says parentheses first, right? So let's do negative 16 divided by, now we got to do this whole thing, right? Well, are there any, here's a parentheses inside parentheses, so we actually got to do this guy before we touch the negative 4. And so inside the bracket is 8 divided by negative 2. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So all I did was brought the negative 4 down, and all I did was solve this part. Okay, already it looks cleaner, doesn't it? Okay, now we need to do the rest of what's inside parentheses or brackets. So we got to do negative 4 times negative 4. Well, negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16, right? So now we're at a negative 16 divided by negative 16. So now that we've solved everything on the right hand side, we can now just solve this guy. 16 divided by 16 is 1, and a negative divided by a positive is negative. So this is our answer to number 29. Alrighty, so here we go, number 31. We've got a negative 6 divided by this big old thing, right? Which means PEMDAS world, we got to solve this guy first. And inside here we have 5 times the answer to negative 2 times the answer to negative 12 divided by 4. So we've got to do what's inside the tiniest parentheses first. So what's inside parentheses first, then we will deal with what's in brackets, and then we will deal with what's in whatever this guy is called, which I cannot remember for the life of me. Okay. 60 divided by, so we got to do this guy first. 5 times negative 2. Oh, I should have still used the other one. That's alright. I'll just use a time symbol. So, blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that. Okay. Negative 12 divided by a positive 4 equals what? Negative 12 divided by a positive 4. That equals a negative 3. So, sorry, this guy should be a bracket. And this guy should be a fancy guy. That's what we'll call him. We'll call him fancy guys. Okay, so now what did I do? I only solved this part, negative 12 divided by 4. Okay, let's keep going. Now I need to do negative 2 times negative 3. So I'm going to rewrite the rest of my problem. Now I can use brackets. 5 times negative 2 times a negative 3. What's my answer? Positive 6. Okay. Now it's looking a lot cleaner, isn't it? So again, all I've done now is just this guy. This guy came down, this guy came down, this symbol came down. Okay. Negative 60 divided by, get rid of our last parentheses here, 5 times 6, 30. Okay. 60 divided by 30 is 2, and a negative divided by a positive is negative. There's number 31. Okay, that's it, guys. So I'm not going to do the word problem ones. We'll do them in class tomorrow. Just try to visualize it, and I think you'll do just fine on those baseball questions. Okay, hope that was helpful, and I'll see you Monday.